Hello, and welcome back to the Neurodivergent podcast, episode 6, where we celebrate all things neurodiversity. I'm your host, Jannice Jones, and I am the neurodivergent positive psychologist. Today, I'm diving in a bit to a metaphor that you might have heard a lot along the way, which is we have Ferrari engines and bicycle brakes. You know that feeling of your mind is incredibly busy, you're going at a million miles, but you don't know how to stop, or you feel completely wired and tired and you don't know how to stop. So any of those things. So when we understand that the brain has three main states to it, so state one is things like idling and daydreaming. State two is when we are in the task mode network, which is where we're focused and we're concentrated and we can get things done. And then state three, where we are in the overwhelm, procrastination, can't think of you just can't think of words. You're in that state of perfectionism and judgment and has to and shoulds. All of these are found in state three. So as neurodivergents, what can we do to help ourselves to get better at managing the different states? Because if you're trying to do work and you are in the 1 or 3 state, if you're in 1, you need to learn how to up your energy and focus. And if you're in 3, you need ways to bring that overthinking and over worrying down in order to be able to do the actual work that you want to do. So there's a great book by somebody called Matthew Storoni, and it's called Hyper Efficient, and she talks about these different states, but there are many other people out there also talking about them. So what is state 1? Anytime you are doodling, daydreaming, looking out the window, just, not really particularly thinking about anything. You might be just gently allowing your brain to, not focused brainstorming, but to just gently create ideas. That's when we're letting our minds wander. We need this state. For me, this is the state that those of us who are neurodivergent, we're either in too much or not at all. So if you're the kind of person who, worries a lot and overthinks a lot and overanalyzes and gets to that state 3 overwhelm a lot, then what might really help you is to do something like go for a walk. Walking in nature is one of the easiest and best ways for our brains to be able to get to that state 1, that daydreaming state. Having some sort of transition ritual. So for me, I tend to do, if I'm in daydreaming state, if I'm in that, I'm not really focused at all and I'm just allowing my mind, I might be doodling, I might be doing a little bit of colouring in or mandalas or anything like that. If I'm in that state, in order to get into the focused state, for me, I need to do some energetic breath work. So something like the Wim Hof, where I'm really moving the energy and getting my energy focused and bringing that level up, then that's going to help you to come out of that daydreaming, doodling state and get more into focus mode. For some people, it's really helpful to set a timer. So, give yourself 10 minutes 20 minutes of just allowing your mind to wander, not please, not on social media scrolling. That's not it. Okay, that is not it. It's maybe gently reading a novel that's not, it's not difficult to read. It's something really simple. It might be, as I say, looking out the window. You might, it's not napping, but it's just, allowing your brain to completely down tools and just allow it. And we do need this state. We really need this state. You might also have something like putting on noise cancelling headphones and then adding some energetic music in there, something like that, or getting up and doing some press ups, or doing a couple of minutes of dancing about to your favorite tune. That can all help you to come out of that. I'm not really focused on, I'm allowing my brain to just do its own thing calmly, gently. I'm not pushing anything, but now I need to get back into focus mode. So those are some sort of ideas around, but setting timers and things like that can be really helpful. And then if we look at, your focus, concentration, gear 2, this is the state that if you need to do this important piece of work, or, the most important thing that you're needing to do that day, we call it red boulders. So you're needing to get something done and it requires focus and concentration. Then this is where your Ferrari engine is really raring to go. It's ready. It's ready to, really move forwards. So if you're in gear 2 and you want to get the best out of that, then if you're in that hyper focus mode, fantastic. Use it. Do your most important work then. Don't waste your hyper focus mode on doing emails or answering telephone calls or, doing a piece of work that's actually not that important. If you are able to get into that wonderful zone 2, that you're able to get the thing done, make the most of it, but make sure you're also looking after your brain in terms of you're not trying to force yourself to be in that state for too long. So we still need, even when we're in that hyper-focus mode, our brain still needs breaks. We do still need to come down from that focus and go back to the idling, doodling mode, state 1, at least 90 minutes or maximum, 2 to 3 hours. If you're in that state, don't forget you're using up a lot of brain energy, and also you are creating, when we think a lot, when we're using that focus mode, our brains are actually creating things in there that it needs to clear. It's like clutter. It creates things in our brain that actually need to be gotten rid of. So you then need a period of allowing yourself to go and walk, do some meditation, some mindfulness, some breath work, but more like the gentle breath work. So instead of the Wim Hof forcing and pushing that air and energizing, it's more like when you're wanting to come out of an intense focus mode, then you're going to want to do something like 4-8 breath or 4-7-8 breath. So that's in for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, out for 8, or my favorite is in for 4, hold for 4, out for 8. So if you're wanting to, down regulate your state, down regulate your brain, give it a rest, then you might want to do some of that 4-8 or 4-4-8 breathing, I try and breathe in through the nose where possible, and also out through the nose where possible. But if you can't, then at least still do the breath work. The reason why we breathe in through the nose is because when we breathe in through the nose, we get nitric oxide. And why we want that? It's a vasodilator, and it helps our system to calm and to work more optimally. So, so if you're in state 2 and you've done all your focused work and you've been able to get that red boulder, move that important thing forward, then, then you're able to come out of that by using walking, by using meditation, mindfulness. You might want to do some progressive muscle relaxation. You might want to listen to some calming sounds instead of, something that's going to get you heightened. And for some people, a weighted blanket can be really, really helpful as well. But if you are, instead of feeling tired, but all you've done is use your brain, but you're not feeling wired, you can do any of the above. So the calming, the listening, for some people it's whales, listening to whales. It's you can have a yoga nidra meditation. You could go out walking and you can just let your brain relax. But if you're tired and wired, then you might need more of, some yoga or gentle stretching. You might need to go into a really dark or quiet environment to signal to your brain that it's time to calm down. And some like mindful grounding. So for some people, they may have a specific item that they pick up and that's calming for them. It could be a stone or a particular toy or something that they hold, and that's a signal to their brain that okay, I've done that thing, and now it's time to start coming out of that heightened state 2. You've been really productive, but now you've gone a little bit too long, and you might have gone into that wired state. You really need to calm the body down. Again, walking, as I've said, movement, in terms of like yoga or Tai Chi or just gentle stretching or mindful grounding. Okay. And especially try not to go into social media scrolling or watching the news or anything like that when you're in that tired and wired state. And then, if you are in that state 3, where you are feeling overwhelmed, where you're feeling mentally exhausted, but needing to focus, when you're feeling fearful or anxious, and not able to either go to state 1 because you're way too, activated, but you still need to do some focused work. In that state, what most people try and do who are neurodivergent is at that point, they're making themselves sit still and try and focus. And they might sit there for half an hour, 2 hours, even 3 hours. They're trying to get themselves, they're in complete overwhelm. Their brain's in state 3. So it's literally impossible to do that focus work if your brain is in state 3. So the best thing that you can do is find out for you what takes your brain out of that absolutely overwhelmed, exhausted, heightened state. What is it that works for you? So for some people, it is And believe me, walking is one of the greatest things, full stop. But for some people, they need more than that. So they might need to go for a run to get themselves, doing some exercise. So they start to get the endorphins that takes them out of that stressed state. For others, like myself, if I get to that state, I love putting on a yoga nidra track because my mind is still active, but I allow my body to calm in yoga nidra. So if you can find, like on Insight Timer or Headspace or one of those apps where there's lots of yoga nidra tracks on there, find somebody that you like the sound of their voice and you can put that on. And even if your shoulders are up here and you're feeling really heightened and tight, you can still gently help your state to come out of that state 3 overwhelm, fight, flight, freeze. You're in that state and you want to help your body and mind to come out of that and to come back into either state 1 or state 2. For other people, again, it could be yoga or stretching or some kind of muscle relaxation, all of that, body scanning and tightening and then loosening the muscles and going through. For some people, it's a guided meditation. For others, it's breath work. So again, the 4-8 breath or the 4-4-8 breath can really help. Especially if you're anywhere near water or nature, get out of the door and go and change your environment. Don't just sit there and try and force yourself. If you've been trying to do that for 10, 15 minutes and nothing's happening, you're just wasting your time. You're much better changing your environment, changing your state, and then coming back and seeing if you can get into that state 2 where your brain is then able to work. Just implementing a few of these ideas, strategies, being able to implement them when recognize where you are. So am I in state 1? Am I just in that? I'm not really focused too much. I'm just allowing my brain to flip from thing to thing. I'm not really using too much energy at all. I'm daydreaming, I'm doodling. Recognize you're in state 1. We need state 1. Our brains need state 1. So find more things for you that helps your brain to get into state 1. If you're in state 3, you need to downgrade. You need to down energize your brain and your physiological body and find ways for you that helps you to do that. And if you're in state 2, if you're in that focus mode, make the most of it. Do that incredibly important thing that you need to do, that you need to focus on. Do that when you know and recognize you are in state 2. And if you're in state 1, doodling, idling, which we need, set a timer. How long? I'm going to let myself do that. 10, 20 minutes. Set a timer and then come back and start again and try the focus mode. If you're in state 3, again, set a timer. Give yourself, it might be half an hour you need. If you're in that really wired state 3, and you still have some important work to do, give yourself half an hour or even an hour. It's better to do that, to take some time out, to go and do something else, to down regulate your brain and your body, because then you can still go again. But if you just try and sit there and force and push and get yourself worked up and go, oh, I have to, I must, it's not going to work. It just means that you're even more tired and wired at the end of the day, and you haven't hardly done anything. You haven't been able to produce the work that you were trying to do, whether that's for your own life, so your own life admin, or something to do with your business, or some work that you need to do for an employer. So first of all is recognize those three states. Know that each one has its own mode and challenges. And the fact is that we need more time in state one than we currently allow ourselves. And that's one of the major reasons why we keep staying too long and being in state three way more of the time. Because if you're scrolling constantly, if you're listening to the news, if you're worrying, if you're projecting, if you're not in the present, you're in, the future or the past rather than the present, you are going to, head towards state three far more. So, and especially if you're neurodivergent, we can spend a lot of time in state three. So recognize the different states and what you need to do to manage each one. And then you are able to look after and help your neurodivergent brain to still produce what it's necessary for it to produce without going towards burnout. And that's really, really important. So please, understand that this is not a medical idea. This is my idea. Please seek professional help if and where you feel it is needed. The podcast, thank you for joining, or if you've been listening live, thank you for joining. It is the Neurodivergent podcast, and I am your host, Jannice Jones, the neurodivergent positive psychologist. Thank you for joining me. Take care and see you next time.